My mom told my wife, if he leaves, you keep the house. And I realized I was the bargaining chip. My mom told my wife, if he leaves, you keep the house. And I realized I was the bargaining chip. I didn't find out through a confession. I found out because I came home early with takeout and heard my name through the hallway like it was a warning. Listen to me, Corinne, my mom said, voice low and sharp through my wife's phone speaker. If Silas leaves, you keep the house. Don't let him scare you. That place is yours. There was a pause, then my wife's quiet. I don't want it to turn into a war. My mom exhaled like peace was a childish idea. He's counting on you being nice. He thinks you'll fold. I won't let that happen. I stood there with the bag in my hands, staring at the photo of our wedding on the wall. Corinne was in the kitchen. I could see her shoulder through the doorway, the way she leaned on the counter when she was stressed. She didn't see me yet. I'm Silas Hart, 34. And until that moment, I thought the biggest issue in my marriage was my mom's habit of treating boundaries like optional suggestions. I walked into the kitchen. The floorboard creaked. Corinne's head snapped up. Her face flashed panic, like a kid caught mid-lie. Silas, she started. My mom kept talking on speaker, oblivious. And if he tries to play the victim, remind him who paid the down payment. That house exists because of me. If he wants out, fine. But he doesn't get to walk away with half my money. Corinne fumbled for her phone and stabbed the screen. The call ended. The kitchen went silent. I set the bag down. You want to run that back for me? Corinne swallowed. It's not. She's overreacting. Overreacting to what? I asked, because she sounded like she's been rehearsing that speech. Corinne rubbed her forehead. We've been arguing. She called to check on me. Checking on you isn't the same as coaching you, I said, and she didn't say, are you okay? She said, if he leaves, you keep the house. Like I'm luggage you're negotiating over. Corinne opened her mouth, closed it. She's worried you'll take everything, and I'll be stuck. I laughed once. Short and ugly. Take everything. You handle our budget, you know exactly what we have. She looked away. That tiny movement hit harder than the words, because it meant she knew this wasn't really about money. It was about leverage. 2 years ago we bought our house. Modest 3-bedroom, decent yard, nothing fancy. The only reason we could buy when we did was because my mom, Yvonne, offered a gift for the down payment. I want you settled, she said, sliding a cashier's check across her table like she was closing a deal. I want you close. Families take care of each other. I hesitated. My mom doesn't give without attaching strings. Corinne squeezed my knee under the table and looked so relieved that I told myself I was being paranoid. We signed the papers. We moved in, and within a week my mom had a copy of our key. It's for emergencies, Corinne said when I stared at her. My mom's definition of emergency turned out to be I was driving by. She'd let herself in, call out, hello, in this theatrical way, and start commenting on our choices. The rug was a little dark. The kitchen was so cute for a starter home. Corinne would laugh politely. I'd grind my teeth and remind myself she'd calm down once the novelty wore off. It never did. Every time I pushed back, I became the bad guy. Mom, please call before you come over. I'm not a stranger, Silas. Mom, don't let yourself in. What if you're bleeding out? She'd look at Corinne like I was being difficult, and Corinne would give me that look that said, please don't start a fight. A few months ago, I noticed my mom and Corinne were talking constantly. Corinne's phone would buzz at night, and she'd smile and say, it's your mom, like she was announcing good news. They had inside jokes I wasn't part of. At first, I thought it was sweet. Then work happened. 3 months ago, I got an offer from a company in a different state. Better title, better pay, real growth. Corinne and I talked about it for weeks. She was hesitant because her job is stable here, and her sister lives close. Fair. What made it weird wasn't Corinne's hesitation. It was my mom calling Corinne about it before she talked to me. Your mom thinks we should be careful about moving too fast, Corinne told me. Casual, like my mom was on our team. Then my mom started dropping comments when she visited. I put a lot into this place, she'd say, patting the counter. I want to be sure it stays in the family. So hearing her say, if he leaves, you keep the house, felt like the mask slipping. Back in the kitchen, Corinne picked at the edge of the bag. So I said, how long has she been talking like that? Corinne's eyes were glossy. She doesn't mean it like a plan. She said if he leaves like it's a schedule. I replied. Corinne, what have you told her? Nothing bad. That wasn't an answer. She took a breath. I told her we've been stressed. I told her you've been pushing the move. I told her I'm scared that if we move and it doesn't work, we're stuck somewhere without support. And she turned that into, if he leaves, you keep the house. I nodded slowly. Okay. Did you ask her to? No. Corinne said quickly. Too quickly. She offered advice. Advice? I repeated. Like telling you to keep the house, if I leave. Corinne's voice sharpened. Silas, you're acting like I'm conspiring with her. I heard her conspiring, I said. I'm standing in my kitchen listening to my mother strategize with my wife about what happens if I'm not here. Corinne's jaw tightened. She thinks you'll walk away. That's not me. It's not her either. Corinne snapped, then immediately looked like she regretted it. There it was. The reflex. Defend my mom. Even now. I forced myself to slow down. Has she offered to help you leave me? Corinne's silence answered before her words did. She said she'd make sure I was okay. Corinne whispered, by doing what? She said if it ever came to it, she'd talk to her friend Vaughn. He's a lawyer. She said he owes her a favor. I blinked, so she's already shopping for attorneys. She said it was just in case. Just in case, I repeated. Has she given you paperwork? Anything about the house? Corinne went pale. Corinne, She opened the junk drawer and pulled out a manila envelope, the kind my mom uses when she wants to look official. Inside were copies of our closing documents, but not the full packet. Specific pages, highlighted, tabbed with sticky notes in my mom's neat handwriting. On the deed page, joint tenancy. Remember, you have rights. On the gift letter, this is why we can argue it was intended for you. I looked up. What is this? She dropped it off last week, Corinne said. She said I should have it somewhere safe. Safe from who? Me. Corinne's eyes filled. She said you get intense when you feel cornered. I froze. She said that? Corinne nodded. She said you'd try to pressure me into signing something. Like you'd make me agree to move, and then if it fell apart you'd blame me and leave. My mom was building a story, planting a narrative where I was the villain, and she was the rescuer. And Corinne was letting her. Have you met with Vaughn? I asked. Corinne's mouth opened, then shut. Corinne, we talked, she whispered. Once. I stared at her. You talked to a lawyer about our marriage without telling me. It wasn't about divorce, she said, voice cracking. It was about understanding options. Understanding options. Like I was a product, and she was reading the warranty. When? I asked. 2 weeks ago. Your mom set it up. She came with me. I sat there, stunned. This wasn't an emotional misunderstanding. This was strategy. You know what the worst part is? I said. Corinne wiped at her face. What? I didn't even know I was in a negotiation, I said. I thought we were having normal married arguments. Meanwhile, my mom is teaching you how to keep the house if I leave. Corinne shook her head, crying. I didn't want this. I swear. I believe she didn't want the chaos. I didn't believe she didn't want the safety net. My mom's safety nets always come with a leash. That night, I drove to the river and sat in my car, phone in my hand, scrolling through old texts with my mom. I saw the pattern in a new light. If he ever messes up, call me. Men get restless. You deserve security, not jokes. Instructions. When I got home, Corinne was on the couch under a blanket, eyes red, phone in her hand like she'd been waiting for it to ring. Did you call her? I asked. She shook her head. I didn't. The next day, I called my friend Rylan, who works in finance and has a brain like a filing cabinet. I told him everything. He went quiet, then said, Silas, pull every document you have and check what your mom's name is on. My mom isn't on anything. I said, it's our deed, our mortgage. Rylan sighed. Check anyway. So I did. I logged into the county records portal at lunch. I pulled up our property record and searched for liens. There it was. A recorded second mortgage for the exact amount my mom gifted, filed the month we closed. It wasn't a gift. It was a loan. A loan she recorded against our house. I remembered my mom insisting she come to closing for support. I remembered her hovering behind Corinne, pointing at signature lines. I remembered thinking, she's just excited. No, she was installing herself into our marriage with legal screws. When I got home, Corinne was chopping vegetables like she was trying to be normal. Did you know about this? I asked, holding up the printout. Her face went still. Where did you get that? County records, I said. Second mortgage. My mom's name. Tell me you knew. Corinne's voice went small. She told me it was to protect herself. To protect herself from what? I snapped. She called it a gift. She said gifts get messy if people split. Corinne said, eyes glossy. She said it was a formality. She said it wouldn't matter unless I leave. I finished. Flat. Unless she decides it matters. Corinne whispered. I didn't know it was recorded. I swear, I studied her face. For the first time since the call, I saw actual shock, not performance. Realization. So she lied to both of us. I said slowly. Corinne nodded. Yes. I sat down hard. Okay. Then we have a bigger problem than the move. Corinne whispered. What do? We stopped letting her manage our life. The next morning, before we could talk ourselves out of it, I called a local family attorney a coworker had used for a boring, clean prenup. Her name was Sloan Mercer. No connection to my mother, no favor owed, no cozy lunch dates with Yvonne Hart. Sloan's assistant asked if it was urgent. I said, my mother recorded a second mortgage against my house without being honest about it. She booked us for 4. Corinne took a breath. I want you to know something. When your mom called me about the move, she asked me to send her screenshots sometimes. She said she needed context so she could help. My stomach rolled. Did you? A couple times, she admitted. Early on, I thought it was support. Then it felt wrong and I stopped. But she got used to being in the middle. At 4, we sat in Sloan's office, a bland room with framed certificates and a bowl of mints. Sloan read the lien paperwork and didn't flinch. Good news, she said. Your mother isn't on title. Bad news, she recorded a secured interest. If she demands repayment, she has leverage. Not instant foreclosure tomorrow, but leverage. Corinne whispered. She told me it was a formality. Sloan said, people say formality when they want you to sign something you wouldn't sign if you understood it. Sloan laid out our options. Refinance and roll the amount into the main mortgage. Pay it off if we could, or negotiate a release. Then she asked who had access. Keys, passwords, portals, who had ever helped set up accounts. Corinne admitted my mom was at closing and had helped create our lender portal login because she was good with paperwork. I felt my face go hot because I remembered it. My mom insisting Corinne was overwhelmed, taking the laptop, clicking through screens while the title agent pointed at pages for signatures. Tonight, Sloan said, change every password. Enable two-factor authentication. Check recovery emails and phone numbers. And change your locks. On the drive home, Corinne stared out the window like she was watching her old reality dissolve. She's going to say you turned me against her, she murmured. She turned you against me, I replied, then forced my voice softer. We can argue feelings later. Right now we do steps. We stopped at a hardware store and bought a keypad deadbolt. Corinne kept rubbing her arms like she was cold. Do you want to wait? I asked. She shook her head. If we wait, I'll talk myself out of it. So I changed the lock. I held up the old brass key afterward and stared at it. We hadn't even thrown the old lock into the trash when the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. My mom stood on the porch with a bright smile and a paper bag, like she was bringing dinner instead of a power play. Behind her, my dad's car idled at the curb. He didn't get out. I opened the door, but only enough to speak through the gap. What are you doing here? Yvonne's eyes flicked to the new keypad. Her smile tightened. Oh, you changed the lock. Interesting. You need to leave, I said. She lifted the bag. I brought food. Corinne sounded upset. Corinne behind me whispered. I didn't call her. My mom heard anyway. Sweetheart, it's okay. I can tell when you're stressed. I felt my jaw clamp. Stop calling her sweetheart. Yvonne blinked, then shifted into that wounded tone she uses when she wants an audience. Silas, I'm your mother, and this is my house, I said. You don't show up uninvited. Her gaze slid past me, hunting for Corinne. Corinne, honey, can we talk? Corinne stepped into view, shoulders squared. Not alone. Yvonne's expression flickered. Alone? Not alone, Corinne repeated. Steadier. My mom's eyes cut back to me. So this is your doing. This is us, I said. Together. She laughed without warmth. Together. Sure, you always did have a talent for making people feel like they're choosing when you're really pushing. Mom, I said, voice low, you told my wife to keep the house if I leave. You set her up with a lawyer. You recorded a second mortgage and called it a gift. So don't stand here and act confused. Yvonne lifted her chin. I protected my investment. You trapped us, I said. She leaned in like she was sharing a secret. If you didn't plan on leaving, you shouldn't be upset. That line was the whole problem in one sentence. Let Dad come in if he wants to talk, I said, nodding toward the car. You're not coming in. Yvonne's face flushed. After everything I've done, after I gave you that down payment, loan, I corrected. Her smile returned, tight as wire. Fine, loan, and loans get repaid. Then she turned to Corinne, with that soft, syrupy voice. You don't have to be scared. If he leaves, you keep the house. I already told you that. Corinne's voice shook, but she held it. Stop saying that. My mom looked genuinely startled for half a second. Then her expression hardened. Call me when you're ready to be practical. She set the bag on the porch like an offering and walked away like she'd won. My dad never looked up from the steering wheel. After they left, Corinne sat on the entryway bench, shaking. I let her in, she whispered. I thought I was being respectful. You were being trained, I said, but we can stop it. We spent the evening changing passwords and locking down accounts. On the mortgage site, the recovery email listed wasn't mine or Corinne's. It was my mom's. Corinne stared at the screen, hand over her mouth. How closing day, I said, cold. She did it at closing. We changed it, added two-factor authentication, and I watched Corinne's hands shake as she typed. Then I called my dad. He answered on the second ring. I saw you in the car, I said. Why didn't you get out? A long sigh. Because if I got out, your mother would have made it worse. Did you know about the second mortgage? I asked. I knew she wanted it, he said quietly. I didn't know she told you it was a gift, so you let her do it, I said. I didn't think she'd use it like this, he whispered. She gets scared. Scared of losing control, I said. And he didn't deny it. When I hung up, Corinne stared at her phone, thumb hovering over my mom's contact. Do it, I said. Corinne hit block. Her shoulders sagged like she'd dropped a backpack full of rocks. For about 30 seconds, the house felt almost peaceful, like we'd slammed a door and the noise couldn't follow. Then Corinne's phone buzzed on the coffee table. A new message thread. Not the one she'd just blocked. I heard you were looking at documents today. It read, please don't do anything rash. Remember what I said, if he leaves, you keep the house. I'll handle it. Corinne's face drained of color. She's using an email to text thing, she whispered. My phone buzzed an instant later, an alert from our mortgage portal. The notification banner flashed, request received, change of mailing address. I opened it with my thumb suddenly numb. The request had been submitted 10 minutes ago. Not by me, not by Corinne. I clicked into the security details and felt my stomach drop all over again. The verification code for approving the change had been sent to an email address neither of us recognized. Not my mom's, not Corinne's, not mine. Something random like a burner. Corinne leaned over my shoulder, shaking. Silas, she whispered. Who else has access to our house? Corinne leaned over my shoulder, shaking. Silas, she whispered. Who else has access to our house? The question sounded simple, but the alert on my phone wasn't coming from our front door. It was coming from the mortgage portal, not the house. I said, keeping my voice level. The accounts, the logins. Corinne stared at her phone like it had just betrayed her. She's held it before, she admitted. When we were cooking, when she wanted to see pictures, she'd swipe around and hand it back. My stomach twisted. Did she ever set herself up as recovery? I asked. Corinne's face pinched. She asked me to add her number just in case. She said it was smart. I did. I could have unloaded every angry thought in my head, but I could see Corinne already drowning in shame. If I piled on, my mom's narrative, Silas is intense, Silas corners people would get a foothold. Okay, I said. We fix it like a breach, right now. I called the lenders after hours line. After 2 menus and hold music that could qualify as punishment. I got a rep named Janelle. I need you to freeze changes on my account, I said. Someone submitted a mailing address change 10 minutes ago. It wasn't us. She verified me, then verified Corinne as co-borrower. She put a hold on the request and noted it as unauthorized. Security can formally cancel it in the morning, she said. When I hung up, Corinne whispered. What if she keeps trying? She will, I said. Because she thinks she's managing us. We stayed up changing passwords and checking recovery settings like we were defusing a bomb. Banking, utilities, insurance, cloud storage. Anything tied to our identity got tightened. Close to midnight, Corinne froze with her phone in her hand. Silas. What? She turned the screen toward me. Under trusted recovery numbers. My mom's name sat there like it belonged. Corinne's eyes filled. She told me families do this, she whispered. We're removing it, I said. Corinne deleted my mom as a trusted number, replaced it with mine, then deleted my mom's contact card entirely. She didn't do it dramatically. She did it like she was unplugging something. At 1:07 a.m., my credit monitoring pinged. New inquiry detected. My chest went cold. Did you apply for anything? I asked. Corinne shook her head hard. No. It was from a local credit union we've never used. I called Rylan. He didn't even ask questions. Freeze your credit, he said. All 3 bureaus. Screenshot confirmations. So we did. By the time we finished, Corinne looked wrung out, but there was a new edge under it, anger replacing helplessness. At 8:20 a.m., the next punch landed. An email from Vaughn L. Teller, Esquire subject. Regarding the Hart residence, clarification of interest. Corinne went pale. That's him, she whispered. I opened it and felt my jaw tighten as I read. Vaughn referenced the recorded second mortgage and said, my mom wanted to ensure appropriate protections are in place given recent discussions of separation. Separation. A word we hadn't used. Corinne's voice cracked. I never said that. I know, I said. She's saying it for you. I forwarded it to Sloan with one line, we have not discussed separation. This is false. Sloan replied fast, do not respond. Come in today. By mid-morning we were in Sloan's office, the same calm room that now felt like a bunker. Sloan skimmed Vaughn's email and didn't flinch. Pressure tactic, she said. He's planning a story. Don't feed it. I told her about the address change attempt and the credit inquiry. Her expression sharpened. Okay, she said. Now we're in identity misuse territory. Corinne swallowed. Is that criminal? It can be, Sloan said. But our first move is protection and documentation. She had us do 3 things immediately. File fraud alerts, contact lender security for full logs, and send formal notice that all communication goes through counsel and any further unauthorized access attempts will be treated as harassment and potential fraud. We called lender security from her office. After transfers, we reached a security specialist named Emilio. Emilio confirmed the hold. Then he said a sentence that made the room tilt. The request originated from a session authorized as a third-party document preparer. Sloan leaned forward. Who is the third party? Emilio hesitated. Sloan's tone stayed calm but made it clear there was no exit. Emilio sighed. The third party is listed as Yvonne Hart. Corinne made a sharp sound, half laugh, half sob. I stared at the desk. Remove her, I said. Emilio required both borrowers to confirm identity. We did. He removed her access and emailed confirmation. Sloan looked at me. Your mother didn't give you a gift, she said. She installed herself. On the drive home, Corinne stared out the window. She kept saying, if he leaves, you keep the house, she murmured. It's not comfort, I said. It's a leash. It keeps you calm while she escalates, and it tells me she can blow up my life if I don't behave. When we pulled into the driveway, my porch camera showed my mom had been there while we were gone. She stared into the lens, tried the keypad twice, failed, and walked away with that tight, offended posture she uses when she thinks she's being mistreated. A few minutes later, my dad showed up alone. I opened the door, but Corinne stayed beside me and we kept it on the porch. Your mom is upset. Dad started. She got removed from our account, I said. His face went blank. Removed from what? I showed him Emilio's confirmation. My dad's mouth parted. She put herself in your portal? She tried to change our mailing address, I said. And a credit inquiry hit, and her lawyer implied we're separating. Corinne added, quieter, she told me the down payment was a gift. Dad stared at the boards under his shoes. I thought she was being careful, he said. She's being controlling, I said, and I didn't soften it. Dad swallowed. She's talking about calling the note, he admitted. Demanding repayment. Corinne's fingers dug into my arm. Why would she do that? Dad's voice came out tired. Because she's scared you'll move, and she'll lose you. She'd rather torch our marriage than lose access, I said. Dad didn't deny it. Here's the boundary, I said. She doesn't contact Corinne. She doesn't show up here. She doesn't contact our workplaces. If she ignores that, we document it as harassment. Dad nodded like he understood, but I could see the fear. He'd been living in the blast radius for decades. It didn't take long for my mom to prove she didn't care. That afternoon, Corinne got an email from her principal. Quick check-in. We drove to the school together. In the principal's office, Miss Halstead looked uncomfortable. A woman called, she said. She identified herself as your mother-in-law. She said she was concerned about instability at home. Corinne's face flushed with humiliation. I'm safe, she said, and her voice held. She's interfering. She is not authorized to contact you. Miss. Halstead nodded. Thank you for telling me. We'll flag her number. If she comes on campus, we'll remove her. Back in the parking lot, Corinne's hands shook with anger. She called my principal, she said. She tried to make me look unstable. That's her method, I said. If she can't control you, she controls how other people see you. That night, Corinne opened her message history with my mom and started scrolling. Hundreds of texts. Some normal, some syrupy. And then the little hooks. Don't let him bulldoze you. Your home should feel stable. I can help. If you need me, call me, not him. Corinne's eyes were wet. She was training me. We save everything, I said. We don't argue with feelings. We argue with paper. We made a shared folder named Yvonne and started dropping screenshots into it like we were building a case file. Sloan sent a letter 2 days later. All contact through council. Cease unauthorized attempts. No residence visits. No workplace contact. Any violations documented for protective orders. My mom didn't respond like a person who heard stop. She responded like a person looking for a side door. Corinne's mom, Lacey, called crying. Yvonne wrote us a letter, she said. She said she's worried about Corinne. She implied Silas is controlling. Corinne went still. She wrote my parents. Lacey sounded shaken. She asked if Corinne could stay with us to think clearly. Corinne's dad, Dorian, got on the call next. His voice was calm and blunt. We don't believe her, he said. But we're keeping the letter. That mattered more than I expected. My mom's favorite power move is getting people to question you. Corinne's parents didn't. Then the certified letter arrived. Vaughn, on behalf of my mother, demanding repayment of the second mortgage within 30 days. Sloan read it and said, pressure. She wants you panicked and obedient. Corinne looked at me. I want her out, she said. Voice steady. Zero grip. Same, I said. We chose refinance. Not because it was easy, but because it was clean. Petra, Sloan's broker contact, handled the numbers. We gathered documents, signed forms, and waited while my mom tried to keep herself relevant through chaos. She showed up twice and cried on the porch in front of the camera. She left casseroles and folders. She sent my dad with messages. We didn't engage. We documented. Then my manager pulled me aside at work. Your mother called, he said. She hinted you're making impulsive decisions. My mouth went dry. I'm fine, I said. She's interfering. My manager studied me and said, you look annoyed, not unstable. Then he told me security would be told not to let her in. On top of everything, Corinne told me what Vaughn had asked her at their first meeting. If I punched walls, if I controlled money, if I isolated her. He was building an abuse narrative, I said. Corinne nodded, eyes wet. I didn't realize until later. I took her hand. You didn't create it, I said. But we're gonna make it impossible to sell. Closing was scheduled for Thursday at 2:00. Petra warned us my mom might refuse to sign the lien release, just to keep her hand on our throat. So I called my mom once, on speaker, with Corinne and Sloan present. She answered sweet. Silas, ready to apologize? No, I said. I'm informing you. We are refinancing. You're getting paid in full through escrow. You will sign the release. Her tone snapped. You're doing this behind my back. It's my house, I said, and my marriage. She started listing everything she'd done for us. I didn't argue. I stated facts. You recorded a lien and called it a gift, I said. You added yourself to our mortgage portal. You tried to change our mailing address. You contacted workplaces. You told Corinne she keeps the house if I leave. My mom hissed. Corinne, honey, tell him I was helping. Corinne's voice shook, but she didn't fold. Stop calling me honey, she said. You're not helping. You're using me. My mom's outrage flared. I'm protecting you. I want a marriage without you in it, Corinne said. Sign the release. Take your money. Leave us alone. My mom snapped. You'll regret this when he leaves you. Sloan watched silently, letting it record. You have 48 hours to confirm you'll sign, I said. If you refuse, we proceed with court. My mom spat. A judge will see how you treat your mother. A judge will see documents, I said, and ended the call. 2 hours later, my dad called sounding wrecked. She's saying you're stealing, he said. I'm paying her, I said. Silence. Then a small, exhausted, I'm sorry, Silas. Closing day came. My mom didn't show up. Vaughn did. Crisp suit, tight smile. The title agent slid the release across the table. Upon repayment, this is signed and filed. Vaughn tried once. My client requests an acknowledgement of her contribution. Sloan didn't blink. No. Repayment of a loan only. Vaughn's phone buzzed. He glanced down, then sighed and signed. The release was notarized and filed electronically before we left. Outside, Corinne let out a laugh that sounded like disbelief. She's out, she said. On paper, I said. Yes. That night, my mom tried to claw back control with words. New numbers. New emails. Same lines. You threw away family. If you need a safe place, call me. Corinne blocked them without responding. I blocked them too. Then Corinne looked at me and said, new rule. Okay, I said. No secrets, she said. If she contacts either of us, we tell the other immediately. Agreed, I said. And counseling. Corinne added, voice quieter, because I don't want to confuse control with love again. My throat tightened. Me too, doctor. Nessa Ward said the thing that finally made the pattern feel simple. Your mother isn't loving you. She's possessing you. Possession. That was it. That was the whole story. We didn't rush the move. For a week after closing, we just sat in our house and let our nerves settle. Corinne kept opening the mortgage app, staring at the account page like she expected my mom's name to reappear, then closing it again. Every time I'd feel my anger flare, not at Corinne, but at how thoroughly my mom had turned basic adult tasks into a threat. One evening, Corinne said, "I need to apologize." "For what?" I asked. "For listening to her," she said. "For letting her make me feel like I had to secure myself against you." My throat tightened. "You were scared of being left," I said. Corinne nodded, eyes wet. "And she used that. She talked like she was protecting me, but she was really building a trap where I'd feel safer with her than with my own husband." I pulled her into my arms. "No more," I said. "No more," she whispered back. A few days later, we finally said out loud what we'd been circling. Even if my mom couldn't touch our money anymore, she could still pop up at our door, at Corinne's school, at my work, anywhere she could inject chaos, and then call it concern. Corinne said, carefully, "I don't want to live bracing for her car in the driveway." "I don't either," I admitted. "But I don't want the move to be a reaction she can claim. I want it to be a choice we own." Corinne took a breath. "Then let's choose it," she said. So we chose it. We hired a realtor named Gillian, who didn't ask for our life story. When Corinne mentioned an unwanted family member, Gillian just said, "If anyone disrupts a showing, I call you and I call law enforcement." The first open house was a Saturday. Corinne and I hid at a cafe across town, trying to pretend we weren't waiting for a siren. At 2:17 p.m., my doorbell camera alert popped up. My mom stood on the sidewalk, staring at the for sale sign like it was a personal insult. Then she marched up to the porch and started pounding on the door. Gillian called immediately. "Silas, someone is here causing a scene." "Is she inside?" I asked. "No," Gillian said. "I stopped her. She's yelling that she paid for this, and you can't sell without her." I watched on the camera as my mom raised her voice so every potential buyer could hear. "He can't sell this house without me," she shouted. "He's abandoning his wife." Corinne went pale. "She's still trying to write the story," she whispered. I called the non-emergency police line and said, "There's a woman trespassing and disrupting a showing at my property." A patrol car arrived. My mom's posture instantly shifted into wounded victim mode, but the officer still escorted her off the porch. She looked straight into the camera as she walked away, like she wanted us to feel watched. Gillian texted afterward, "She's gone. We finished." Two parties asked about making offers. Corinne exhaled, shaky but steady. "So even that didn't work," she said. The sale moved forward anyway. We accepted an offer from a couple who loved the yard and didn't care about the kitchen's character. We signed, scheduled closing, and started packing like we were peeling ourselves out of a place that never fully belonged to just us. On move-out day, Corinne stood in the empty living room and looked around. "I thought this was going to be our forever," she said softly. "It was supposed to be," I said. Corinne nodded. "But it was also crowded," she said, "even when she wasn't here. We moved 2 hours away, not across the country, just far enough that my mom couldn't swing by and pretend it was normal. We set up a P.O. box and told people plainly that our home address wasn't being shared. Corinne's parents promised. Rylan promised. Even my dad, after a long pause, said, "Okay." My mom tried a few times anyway. Cards sent to the P.O. box with lines, like "I forgive you," voicemails from new numbers, an email to Corinne's old account that ended with, "If he leaves, you know what to do." Corinne forwarded everything to Sloan without replying and blocked the new contact each time. Routine, paper, boring. A month after we moved, my dad asked if he could visit. He didn't ask for the address directly. He asked if there was a day we could meet somewhere nearby. That alone told me he was trying not to become my mom's courier again. We picked a diner off the highway. Public, neutral, no home information to leak. Dad looked older than he had 3 months earlier, like the stress finally had nowhere to hide. He slid into the booth across from me and said, without preamble, "She keeps asking where you are." I figured, I said. He rubbed his hands together. "She thinks you're punishing her," he said. "She says Corinne stole you." Corinne had come with me, sitting beside me this time, not staying home like my mom's fantasy version of her would. Corinne met my dad's eyes. "No one stole anyone," she said quietly. "We made a choice." Dad swallowed. "I know," he said, and for once it sounded like he meant it. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to say I should have stopped this years ago." The apology sat there between us. I didn't rush to comfort him. I didn't punish him either. I just let it exist. "Here's the rule," I said. "If you want a relationship with us, it's you, not you plus her. No updates, no relays, no your mother wants." Dad nodded fast. "I can do that," he said. Corinne added, "And she doesn't get our address. Ever." Dad's shoulders slumped like he'd expected that. "She won't get it from me," he said. On the way out, Dad hesitated. "She's going to keep trying," he warned. I nodded. "Then she'll keep hitting closed doors," I said. Dad cleared his throat and said, "She tried to get me to accidentally run into Corinne's parents. She wanted me to fish for your new place." His mouth twisted with embarrassment. "I didn't do it. I told her I wasn't playing detective." Corinne's expression softened a fraction. "Thank you," she said. He nodded, eyes glassy. "It's the first time I've told her no without cushioning it," he admitted. "She's furious. But I'm tired." Outside the diner, he didn't hug me. He just touched my shoulder once. Awkward, careful, like he was learning how to show up without pushing. After that, the messages kept coming in bursts. New numbers, new concern, the same promise of safety with a hook inside it. But we didn't argue with hooks anymore. We saved, forwarded, blocked, and went back to our day. That's all we asked for. Quiet, honest distance. Corinne and I still catch ourselves scanning for threats, but then we look at each other and remember, we're the team now. The thing I didn't understand until this blew up is that my mom wasn't reacting to a move. She was reacting to loss of control. The house was never the point. The point was having a piece of paper she could wave and say, I'm involved. When she told Corinne, if he leaves, you keep the house, she thought she was buying loyalty with fear, turning my marriage into collateral and my wife into the gate she could stand behind. Instead, she showed us exactly what she'd do to stay central. So we stopped negotiating. We stopped translating. We stopped trying to find the version of her that would be reasonable if we said the right words. We picked the only language she respects, locked accounts, written boundaries, and closed doors. And for the first time, it finally felt like our life belonged to us.